Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, I've got a treat for you. Rachel Baribeau. If you guys don't know who that is, you're crazy. You need to go look her up right now at Rachel Baribeau. It's spelled Baribeau on Instagram. Is that your main thing? Instagram?
Yeah. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah, or just turn on the TV. If you know who she is, you know she's a sports broadcaster. She's a freaking speaker, author. Mm-hmm. Now she's changing the game for basically students and a whole slew of different people.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
And what makes you so passionate about helping the kings and queens in high school and schools and colleges?
You know, I mean, that's just my makeup. Like I've always been an empathic. I've always been a person that thinks about the person around me, in front of me, behind me, whether I know them or not. It's my makeup. I can't turn that off. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I've just always been a person that's about people. I had a grandmother that was a bartender for 60 years.
Wow.
60 years. She waited on Truman Capote, Sonny Smith, Bear Bryant, Wimp Sanderson, John Wayne, and she actually went to a party with Truman Capote one time and was his quote unquote beard before he came out. And so she would tell me, she was like, Rachel, I know all these important people, but the ladies of the night and the military people are just as important. People are people. And I remember at Christmas time, she would get, hundreds, if not like hundreds and hundreds in the 500s of Christmas cards. And I never really got it until I got a little bit older to realize just how valuable people are. And but it's always been in my heart. So I had really good people come in front of me that taught me that.
So you were raised correctly.
Yes.
See, I'm jealous.
Yeah. I wasn't raised properly in the sense of, a mom, a dad, I had a mom and a dad, but I was adopted when I was 18 months old. I don't mind saying this. I was born out of wedlock. I mean, I have this kind of thing where I joke and say I have my three dads. I have a biological father, an adopted father, and then I have a stepdad who's like my dad. So I didn't have a typical upbringing, but what I had was a lot of love. I was spoiled with love. I wasn't spoiled with things. I was spoiled with love. Everybody watched my talent shows, and they encouraged me and whatever it was I wanted to do. I want to be a solid gold dancer when I was young. Probably not too far off the mark here. And so knowing me today, but yeah, I didn't come from your stereotypical white picket fence background, but I think it's encouraging to people who have been through junk. I call it funky junk. And no matter what you've gone through, funky junk. You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I certainly do. I'm a little bit overwhelmed with funky junk. Not currently, but in the past.
Are you working through it?
Well, I've already worked through it. I'm talking about growing up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it isn't about me, though. Let's talk about you.
Have you healed little Brad?
I think so. There might be a little wound here and there still left, but Big Brad takes care of little Brad pretty good. I'm doing all right, but I don't know. I bet you if you analyze me, I probably haven't.
And I think the older I get and the more sage and wise I get and the more work I do in this space with changing the narrative, and I know we'll discuss that later, man, I just realized almost all of us, like literally the stuff that we go through, the emotions we have, the things we struggle with are almost always because of little Brad or little Rachel or little Sam or little Janet. And if we start to address those things and figure out what that is and face them head on, then our bigger selves are proud of us, and we make for a more well-rounded individual.
Well, how do we do that as individuals? Do we do it on our own, or do we get help?
I think help is.
That's where you go.
It's where you go. I think the first thing is acknowledgement, to say, man, maybe let's just say you're in you've been in a string of relationships and kind of the same thing has happened over and over. That's where you take a look in the mirror and go, maybe I have something to do with this. Maybe I have a part in this. So I think that first step is acknowledgement. And then I'm a huge fan of therapy. I mean, I tell my kings and queens out on the road, including myself, there's things that if we have something going on with our knee, if something going on with our elbow, if we've got a tumor, if we've got something happening in us, we go see a doctor. You know, if we've got broken thoughts or you've got something going on in your head and something that's ailing you, then you need to go see somebody about it. Actually, and it's the stigma is that there's something weak about that. It's actually, to me, so incredibly brave to go talk to somebody about our funky junk.
Yeah.
You're going to use that, aren't you? I have a feeling.
Yeah. So, well, hopefully maybe we'll get to discuss some funky junk here.
Yeah.
Because I'll bet you there's a lot of people listening that probably have that funky junk. How do you know, like, if you need it? You ever see, people that just kind of cover it up, but they don't understand why they're acting the way they act or why they feel the way they feel, or they start to do crazy things. Girls might turn into strippers.
Yes.
Guys might turn into fighters or thieves or, just trouble. Just all around not necessarily good for you things. And they don't really know what's making them do that. The impulse is.
Listen, I'm no therapist. I call myself like a street therapist, like I'm just a people person. And I've, learned a lot in my travels and the work that I do. But what I experienced myself was my funky junk caused holes in my spirit. And so then I was trying to fill those holes with things of the world, with people, with substances, with things, with, as you mentioned, becoming this or becoming that or too much of this, something that feels a little neurotic or maybe a little obsessive. And those things weren't in balance with my life. They didn't allow me to have a life of balance and a life of peace. And one of the things I talk about with changing the narrative is, can you, at the end of the day, take a long, hard look in the mirror and be proud of the person that's staring back at you? I'm not talking about a cursory glance. I'm not talking about, are my eyebrows okay? Do I have a unibrow? Do I have, nose hairs? I'm talking about like deep look in your soul, a reflective look. And are you proud of, what you did that day? Are you proud of who you are? Is there something you need to fix? Is there something you need to be accountable for? And if there's not, if there's something you need to ask for help, if there's not, go fix it. And I think a lot of people don't really love themselves.
Bingo.
And then you can't love somebody else if you do not love yourself. It's huge.
Let's talk about that for a minute. So, number one, how do people figure out if they love themselves?
I think, one of the things that I think life and society has told us that being alone, equates loneliness. That is so false.
So can't be alone?
Yeah, you can't be alone. You're looking for affirmation. You're looking for love. You're looking for your worth in another person. You don't feel good. I mean, on the really, and this is for everybody, you don't feel good unless you drink or unless you do this substance. You don't feel good unless you do these things. I mean, for me, one of the things that I tell people is, when is the last time, here's a good indicator, when is the last time you've been on a date with yourself? And so people go, what? And I'm like, listen, what is it that you love to do? For me, I love to play golf. I love to play golf solo. Nine holes is about my limit, okay, by the time I go warm up. And it's me, it's God, it's the golf ball, it's a golf course, it's nature. I love it. And it's a date with myself. I also love going to a restaurant with books and going table of one. If you don't know what you love to do, I do it. I'm such a nerd, like a proud nerd. Yeah. I do it.
Are you married?
I'm not married. Mm-mm. But this is my whole life.
You seem like a free spirit.
Oh, I'm very much a free spirit.
Haven't always been that way?
I've come into my own, I think, really in the past, this coming into myself, in the past 7-10 years. I also had a really tremendous life event in the sense of a loss. I lost my mom on May 1st. And she was my best friend. And I think once you endure that kind of loss, man, things come into really sharp focus after that. And so I'm even more of a better human being. And that goes back to the self-love. Doesn't mean I'm perfect, Brad, it means I love myself. I value myself. I'm not lonely. I like my solitude. I give so much to people that I need my solitude to pour back into myself. And sometimes that's just recliner love. Like, I never knew recliner love before I inherited my late father's recliner. And now I know recliner love.
Yeah, I can feel you on that.
Just solo, leave me alone. I'm going to veg out and watch football or movies or read a book or just sleep. Like, napping in a recliner, there is something to that. Like, that's a date with yourself.
Well,
Seriously.
I'd like to, like, how long ago was that before you had that? Because, like, your eyes are very bright. They're very sunshiny. Like,
Yeah.
I see sunshine beaming through your eyes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if before you had this revelation and started loving yourself so much,
Yeah.
if your eyes looked the same then.
No. Mm-mm. I know they
look
didn't.
the same?
Mm-mm.
See how you can see that inner spirit?
It's my soul.
in
My
somebody?
soul is pretty.
Your
I don't want to be
soul
eye
is
candy. I
shining.
want to be soul candy.
your soul shining.
Absolutely.
So when you were starting to describe this, like, can't be alone, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's me. See, now, not so much anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm trying to think back. Like, first of all, when you start thinking of your life, most people
Mm-hmm.
think back. They don't think today.
Mm.
So, like, thinking back, I always had a problem with being alone. That's why when I broke up with a girl, boom, I'd have another one just like that. Cause, like, I didn't want to necessarily be alone. Now, if I break up with mine now, which I hope we don't, but if we do, I'm done. I'm loving myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to go find myself.
When's the
I'm
last time?
serious.
When's the last time you've been on a date by yourself? With yourself?
Never. Well, never.
Will you for me?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Well, see, that's where I was going with this. Cause, like, can't be alone. Like, I can be alone, and I'm talking about past. Right now, again, I think I'm maturing a little bit.
Okay.
But prior, let's not call him little Brad. Let's call him medium Brad. Medium Brad couldn't be alone,
Yeah.
but he could be alone. Meaning, I could go to a movie by myself. I always did that. I love movies, and
Okay.
like, you're not talking anyway, so let me go to a movie. And I could go home and not want anyone around, but I wanted to know there's someone there. You know what I mean? There's, like, someone there. So if I thought right now my family's moving out of the house and I'm going to be alone when I get home for months,
Yeah.
I would probably still, obviously, because, you know, it's my family, but I would still, like, feel like that alone. Can't be alone. So there's one.
Yeah.
Affirmation. What'd you say about? I only wrote
Yeah.
affirmation, but you said something that was like, there's another one.
Yeah. You're looking for it in somebody else.
Yeah. And then, oh yeah, need affirmation. See, that was me too. I used to freaking always need someone to tell me that I was cool. That meant that I didn't love myself.
I used to look for somebody to tell me I was beautiful or that I was worth it or that I was smart or sexy. Man, I used to, if we're dropping bombs here, I remember in my 20s, I thought my sexuality was like just in the way I dressed. I thought that I was sexy because of the way I dressed. And now I'm like, man, you could be sexy covered up from your neck down to your, to your wrist, to your ankles, and you can exude sexiness. That's not where it comes from.
True. So, affirmation, that
Yeah.
was me. Basically, I think I was what you were describing. And I think there's a lot of people like that. I think Tony's still like that. See how concerned he looks? He almost looks like he's going to cry. Like, that's me. So I still think there's people out there like that. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, she's pegging me. This is what I think. This is what I feel. How, now that we know that you're probably, what's the word for it? You got some funky junk.
Funky
You don't
junk.
love yourself.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. If you have funky junk, you don't love yourself. I think the first thing is saying, man, this fits me. And then what I do for myself, and I ask my kings and queens across the country to do is, and it might sound super cheesy, but it's super helpful, is to keep a journal. And if you want to really go all in, you keep a journal for 30 or 60 or 90 days. And you go from the morning, A to B to C to D to E to F, all of your interactions throughout the day. Am I proud of the way that I talked to the lady at my building? Did I keep my word when I told my Aunt Edna that I would, call her back? Did I, keep my word in this business deal? Was I mean to my kids? Was I short with whatever it is? And you take stock, right? And you write all the ways in which you were a queen that day and the things that maybe you could fix. And then you fix them. We live in a society and social media, particularly, that says, get yours, get in where you fit in, do it's all good. We live in a society that does not foster accountability. And I am all about accountability. I had a guy reach out to me recently that I'd spoken to, and he said, Miss Rachel, because I call young men to be kings, and I call women.
I like that.
Yeah, thank you. Call somebody by who they were created to be and watch them rise up to it. That's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Dropping bombs on that one. Now,
yes.
Rarely do we not wear our headphones because Little Miss Sunshine didn't want to ruin her beautiful hat. But the only reason, if you put on your headphones, my voice would sound different.
Would it?
My voice would sound like Barry White.
It already sounds great.
So we've always wore headphones, and I always wonder to myself, like, why do we even have these contraptions? Because this works just fine.
Yeah.
It'd be better if we just had a stand where the mic came up. Mm-hmm. We could see each other better. I think we're going to get rid of the headphones. Thank you. You started that.
Thank you for allowing me to be different. It's something that's interesting, and I know we'll get back to what we were talking about. It's interesting, and I wanted to compliment you on this. A lot of your content, you talk about being you and being relentless and pursuing and you just keep going and just this desire and this motor to be who you are and to be authentic and to move forward. And for there were times in my career where people told me to tone it down, to be less, to be not who I am. And there were moments when I was younger where I was more impressionable, and I said, okay. And then I went, oh, no, hard pass.
Yeah.
I'm exactly who I am. I'm colorful, I'm bright, I'm bold, I'm joyful, I'm outspoken, I'm going to do this and this, and I don't fit in your box.
Kind, though.
Thank you. Very kind. Yeah, joyful and kind heart. Yeah.
And if you don't fit in their box?
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, well, I learned at a young age that faking it and trying to lie is only going to backfire anyway. Because let's say you successfully get away with it and you're liked or whatever that you were trying to accomplish, you achieve that. How long until someone realizes that was all bullshit anyway, and now your whole life crashes? And usually it'll crash at the most inopportune time. Like, you're getting ready to go to the prom and then you found out. And now the whole prom night, your memories are ruined.
Yeah.
So I made the mistake of lying when I was a kid to all my friends because I can't say, but I think it was because I felt like we were the poor family on the block. I lived on a hill in a little shitty house, and there was other big houses around us. It's not like that anymore, but back then, you own property, you built a house. Well, ours was a little crap box house. My dad was a mill worker. This guy owned a grocery store chain. The person across the street was the local eye doctor. They had money. The Richards to the left, everyone had money except us. And, I just thought we're the losers of the group. And I felt ashamed. Of course, I didn't grow up with love either. I did, but I didn't. In other words, like, I don't think my dad ever told me he loved me. My mom, every once in a while. But we didn't hug. If I see my family after years, I don't hug them. I shake their hands.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What did that do to you?
I don't know. It's just weird, though. But I want to break that because when I started having my kids, because I've had like 20 kids. So the first set of kids, I was 17. So,
okay.
What do you know? And not only that, there was a whole story there. The second set of kids, I obviously loved them, but I didn't really show them love either. Mm-hmm. Now this third set, I'm loving them and I'm giving them hugs.
I just snorted.
I'm giving them hugs and I'm telling them I love them. Probably not as much as I should, but as much as I think about it. But I think what it did to me is made me like unemotional. Like, in other words, it's weird. Like, people die and I don't even cry. Is that weird?
That's not weird. You're a product of what you saw growing up. But what I do love is that on your third set of kids, you're like, I'm going to do this different. I want to do it more, but I'm going to do it different. I'm going to hug them. I'm going to tell them I love them. And I think that's,
I would always think it's weird.
It's not weird.
Like my wife's family, she's like what I call a beaver cleaver, which means she was raised right.
Yeah.
Loving, chaperone at the school dances, the whole thing. She tells her brother she loves him all the time, and I'm like, that's weird.
I do it all the time. I'm like an excessive, I love you, I love you, I love you.
I know, but I always thought that's weird.
I know. And to some people it is. To some people it's...
Well, I think it's because no one showed it to me when I was growing up.
Yeah. So it feels a little, but guess what? There's your sweet spot.
But you know what it did to me? Mm-hmm. Taught me how to survive.
Absolutely.
Because we were just basically kids should be seen and not heard. So we weren't not loved.
Right.
And we were taken care of. I mean, we had food and clothes.
Yeah.
But that's about it. Like, they made sure we didn't die, is what I like to say. Mm-hmm. And, if I wanted something, go get it. So it taught me how to be very, very resourceful and very independent. Mm-hmm. But I think it also affected me where that's why I need people, because I never really had it. And so I think, if no one wants me, I'm not worth anything.
Mm-hmm. So, what's interesting about what you just said? I think your upbringing, those feelings of survival served you at the time that they had to serve you, right? Now I think you're talking about medium Brad, little Brad, big Brad. I think you're in a different place now. And I think in my life and what I found with other people is the things that scare the what out of us the most, the things that make us the most uncomfortable, the emotions, the adventures, the trips, the whatever it is, that's where the magic is, man.
I'm watching movies.
Yeah.
If there's a underdog winning, I start to frickin' tear up.
Are you?
Why is that?
Because you were an underdog. You're an underdog.
Like if the whole crowd starts cheering for the underdog, like I can't help it.
Because you're an underdog. You've had this amazing success that you've built, but you're an underdog. I'm an underdog. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been told no, that I don't fit, that I'm too much, or it just didn't work out, or no this, or that's not going to work, or I always say to people, crack the door for me and I'll kick it down. I'm not everybody's cup of tea, Brad. I would imagine you're not everybody's cup of tea. But I think
I'm everybody's cup of tea.
Good for you. Because, see, I'm not. I'm too much to some people, and that's okay. But
I haven't met anyone that doesn't like my tea.
You have 2 snorts from me now. 2.
Is that hard to get? Is that hard to get a snort?
I mean,
is it a rarity?
It's I mean, they're genuine. Put it that way. So you made me genuinely laugh twice.
So did you grow up in Nashville?
I did not. I'm a military brat. All over. Izmir, Turkey, Anchorage, Alaska.
Sounds like you have a little bit of an accent.
Yeah, Southern accent. And then I became a sportscaster. So all I've done is move every 4 years. Military and then sports.
Yeah. So people say that I sound like I'm from the South.
Really? I don't know.
You don't hear it?
I don't hear an accent. I hear a lack of an accent. Like more of just a...
Wow, you should follow me around. People always say, where are you from? Texas? And I go, why would you say that? And they're like, see? And I go, see what? You just said why. I'm like, I didn't say why. I said why.
Why?
They're like, see?
Yeah.
Like, what are they listening to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do I sound like I have an accent to you?
No, you do not. The lack of an accent.
Also, right here, I said...
I love that you take notes, by the way.
Oh, sure.
I'm a reporter, so anybody that takes notes steals my heart.
Well, I'll give it back momentarily because I can't read what I wrote. However, it was when you were listing what you would be feeling like if you have some funky junk or you're broken. Because look, a lot of the years I was looking back, I see that I had issues, but looking forward, it was masked by bravado and ego and stupidity and immaturity and insecurity. And so I would make fun of people and do all this shit. But if you would ask me then, are you insecure? Are you this? I would have said, hell no.
Hell no.
So I want the listeners to kind of, that's why I wanted you to read, because people can identify with things. Like when you were saying that, I'm like, yeah, I don't like to be alone.
Yeah.
Damn, I need affirmation. I used to so much. I don't so much anymore. I have a little process. What's your process to fix that?
So back to the affirmation thing. My love language, one of them is words of affirmation. So I enjoy affirmation, but I don't need someone's affirmation to be healthy on my own. Does that make sense? Like there's a difference. Like I like when somebody tells me, I appreciate you, you're smart, or you're passionate. I like those things. It's my love language, but I don't need it to get up in the morning, brush my teeth, and feel good about myself because I know who I am. Yeah. And I think also that, what plays into that is your worth. And when you're broken, man, you derive worth from things that you shouldn't derive worth from. And I think they're more superficial things, or they're more worldly things, or they're more material things than their absolute worth. And even for women and some men too, it goes much deeper. And then you think your sexuality, for me, when I was in my 20s, my sexuality was my worth. Yeah. I didn't think my mind was sexy or my soul was sexy. I thought my body was sexy.
But you had love.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not why I felt the same. That's what I meant by guys grow up to be, when I say fighters, I don't mean like professional fighters.
Yeah.
I mean like people getting in fights, going to jail, getting drunk, doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
Women end up stripping, hooking, letting men abuse them, treat them like hell, et cetera, et cetera. That's the cause.
I had love, but let me make a distinction. I had love, but I had daddy issues. I had 3 dads. I found out when I was 11 that I was adopted. They told me when I was younger that my dad adopted me. So it didn't really manifest itself to my 20s. But I think that's where that came from. We're getting super deep. We're talking about dropping bombs here, but that's where that came from, of that trying to fill my holes with things. And then when I finally realized, for me, it's also faith. But when I realized in my late 20s, early 30s that I didn't need, these worldly things or people or any of that to fill these holes, that I was worth it and already amazing enough. I think that's where those affirmations came from within and from above, and that's where you now see the sparkle in my eye and my soul.
So how did you do that?
And everybody, it's different. It's therapy, and then also for me, it's faith. It's a higher power. I'm not ashamed of that at all. That for me, it's God, and that was kind of a road to reconciliation.
Why did you wait till you were 30?
I'd known God in my 20s, but I just wasn't really paying much attention to him.
Do you pay attention to him now?
Very much so. He's my best friend.
Well, we can get into a whole another discussion on that if you like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll wait because I want to get some of this. But the whole God thing, that's what I'm still looking at too.
Okay.
Like, for example, what's your God's name?
Jesus.
Really?
Yeah, Jesus and God. There's like 3 of them.
Jesus and God?
Yeah, there's like God's the Father, Jesus is the Son, and then there's the Holy Spirit. What's Yahweh? Yeshua?
There you go. No, Yeshua was actually Jesus' name. Jesus isn't his name. Never has been. They say it's translated into Jesus. Not true.
Yeah.
There's a whole story. But if I tell you, you're going to have to go down a rabbit hole. So I don't want to tell you.
Okay.
But you're good, yes. So God is Yahweh or Yahweh.
Yahweh. Mm-hmm.
And then Jesus was never named Jesus. His name was Yahshua, which translated to Joshua, believe it or not.
Yes, you're right. I went to Israel last May, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, well, when I start, because the Bible says, seek and ye shall find, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just seeking, because who knows? Over the years, like the King James Version Bible, do you know why they call it King James Version?
Because probably some kings had it translated down the line, and
It's the King James Version.
Yeah.
So king was powerful, so they would say, well, let's see this Bible. Oh, I don't like that, and I don't like that.
So I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that.
Let me make my version.
Yeah.
So now there's their version. And then that was like in the 1600s or something.
Yeah.
So now all these people are thousands of years later reading, or 400 years later, whatever it's been. We're reading. You hear him laughing out there. You're reading these words, and everybody around you at the church is telling you, oh, just believe. You just got to believe. Well, the Bible itself tells you to seek and question and look. Yeah. So that's all I'm doing.
No, and I
know there's a higher power.
Listen,
I just don't know what the real story is.
And that's a beautiful thing. I am a lifelong learner, seeker, of knowledge, of people, of travel, of things, of books, of ideas. I think when you stop seeking, you are dead. I think your soul is dead and your mind is dead when you stop seeking. And I'm just a seeker. And for me, I'm like, people go, well, this book says this, and this book says, and this chapter says, and this. And I'm like, listen, I can't tell you that this and this. I mean, and I'm like, I can't, not you. That wasn't you. Okay. But I can't explain that. All I can explain to you is it's relationship over religion. And I have a relationship with God. right? That is as real as I'm sitting in front of you today.
Yeah.
And that's all I can tell you. And so when people go, but religion says and you're not supposed to do this. And I think sometimes, man, people ruin faith. Like people, they're like, they're pointing their fingers and legalistic. I think they ruin it for people. I'm like,
sure.
you are so rigid, moralistic, these, I just, it turns it,
Hypocritical.
oh my gosh, mean to you at church, looking down at somebody who does not dress nice at
Judging
church,
you.
judging. I mean, just
Doesn't
terrible.
it say, thou shalt not
Judge lest you be judged. So
Now, here's what I say, though, because there's another scripture that says you will be able to identify as children by their fruit.
Amen.
So I'm just a fruit inspector.
You know what? And
I just inspect fruit.
I think if you're stingy, I think if you lie, I think if you're a hypocrite, I think if you judge, I think if you're full of
we all
resentment, anger.
judge.
Well, I think to an extent where you are not trying to do better. I mean, we all sin every day. Let's be real. We all sin every single day. But I think it's
Some
about
of us
getting
more
up.
than others.
Yeah, I think it's about every day getting up and going, how can I be better today?
Yeah.
That's it for me. I am the farthest from a Bible thumping, Bible beating person you ever want to meet. I want people in a very simple way, Brad. I want people to walk away and go, man, I think I might have seen Jesus in her. Some part of her was so good that I want what she has.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely good. So when you were writing down the list of things that you felt when you were broken, I was trying to write down what I thought you would do if you loved yourself.
Yeah.
What are the things you should think or be doing if you actually love yourself, but you don't know?
You don't know what?
You don't know if you love yourself. Like, do you love yourself, Tony? Yeah. You do? Mm-hmm. You do?
What was the you do? What was that about?
Well, I mean, how do you know? Like, if you ask me, do I love myself? How do I know? That's all I want to know is how do I know?
Tell me 5 wonderful things about yourself.
I don't know. Well, I mean, wonderful is a strong adjective.
Tell me 5 things you like or love about yourself.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I mean, there are some, obviously, but what I wrote down was, number 1, security. Like, you feel secure all by yourself. You don't need anybody, right? Mm-hmm. I wrote down that you honor commitment. Mm-hmm. Like, again, because if you love yourself, honestly, for some reason, people who love themselves, I think, have a higher ethical standard. Mm-hmm. Because when you lie, you're hurting yourself. Mm-hmm. When you talk shit about somebody else, you're hurting yourself.
Amen. Yeah.
So have you ever read the 4 Agreements?
I have started it, haven't finished it.
Be impeccable with your word. It doesn't always mean what people think it means, but if I lash out at you, I'm lashing out at myself.
It's nothing to do with me. It's your funky junk.
Yeah. So people that love themselves, they honor their commitment. They do what they say. They have a higher ethical standard, and it doesn't matter what their friends and family and people think because it's theirs.
Yeah.
They exercise.
Yes.
They take care of themselves. They eat right. Now, again, that doesn't mean they can't have donuts and ice cream. It's in general. Like, if you see someone, in my opinion, other than a medical issue that's like really, really, really out of shape, I think deep down they just don't love themselves. And subconsciously, they're doing the things to punish themselves because they don't think they're worth being fit. They don't think they're worth that health subconsciously. And crazy enough, they don't even know it.
They don't even know because it's so deep down. It's so ingrained in who they are. And a lot of times this stuff is passed down from your mom to your grandmother to your, it's crazy passed down. You talk about taking care of yourself. I started juicing with my mom, who passed away on May 1st. Started juicing with her at the end of February every single day. And since that time, I've probably missed 4 days maybe of juicing. I juice 20 to 30 ounces of anything. And people say, what are your recipes? And I'm
Celery.
like, I do celery, I do kale, I do apples, I do pears, I do a lot of greens, a lot of kale. I do, I just juice the heck out of like 20 to 30 ounces a day. And people ask me, immediately, I started sleeping better. My hair was shinier. I dropped 6 pounds.
This is my juice.
Yeah. So the health thing is huge. That doesn't mean that, I don't enjoy a toddy. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have I'm a granddaughter of a bartender,
My mom used to say toddy all the time.
Yeah. Well, that's my brother's name too. That doesn't mean that I don't enjoy that, but it means that I want to take care of myself. And I think when I take care of myself, it also inspires other people to go, oh, let me do that juicing thing, or hey, let me Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. Great.
Ooh, that's a scary movie. Tony, you just gave her my drink. You better get that back over there. Yeah, that's crazy, man. I tell you, you've got a lot of experience in your young soul.
Thank you.
Now, where did you get all this experience? Just therapy, and you just started learning and reading? Because again, that's another, I think, trait of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Like people that love themselves want to develop themselves, and they want to continue to learn.
I'm an old soul.
And see, again, when I was young, I didn't want to learn anything. Like I dropped out of school. You know why I mainly quit school? Is because I don't play, and they made me go to recess. So I literally quit school because of recess. No, just joking. But I did quit school because my dad kicked me out of the house.
Yeah.
Young.
Okay.
Any kid's going to make probably a stupid decision. So I dropped out of school, went to Hollywood, thought I was going to be a movie star, but I didn't want to learn. I wasn't smart like I am now. Like now I'm smart. Now I seek. Now, that's why I said not now, because now I thought it was maturity. Maybe I'm starting to love myself. Mm-hmm. And maybe I'm starting to love myself because for years, consistently, I've been doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to build that up.
Yeah. And do you have a sense of accountability? I would guess
Strong.
you do. Big a sense of anybody that I know that's a winner, anybody that I know that is successful in their marriage and their relationships and their business and their dreams and their passions is accountable.
Sure.
First to themselves, to the people around them. And I think also you talked about the 4 agreements. Something is big is also boundaries. I've learned that's a big one. So if I say I'm going to do something, there's been times where I've disappointed people, but what I'm learning is no is a full and complete sentence. And sometimes I cannot do what I said I was going to do. And sometimes my own boundaries and my own solitude is more important to be a healthy individual. And so I'm learning about boundaries and having no be a full and complete sentence.
Yeah, you're an author too, no?
Ebook and writing another book in Sicily next spring. I'm taking a sabbatical.
That's what it was. So you're going to go to Sicily and write a book.
Yeah.
What's it going to be about?
The joy in sports. This amazing career that I've had where I've sat in Bobby Bowden's living room, where I've climbed Kilimanjaro for a friend of mine who had ALS, who played for the Eagles and the Patriots and won the Ed Block Courage Award. And I organized a climb up Kilimanjaro called Climb for Kevin, and Mike Ditka narrated a movie about it. We got caught in a blizzard and almost died.
Wow.
These stories, short
See what
stories.
I mean? You've got experiences.
Yeah.
Was everybody happy you were going?
No.
You're probably the life of the party.
I was up until about a week to leave, and then I came down with like hives in my body. Like I have a bunch of food allergies. My body was like, no. My mom was like, you can't go, and I was like, yeah, Mom, I have to go. I organized this thing. Like I kind of have to go. And so while everybody else was enjoying themselves, like my food allergies were terrible, so I couldn't eat. I couldn't carb load. I was sick the whole way up, and I was miserable. But every time up there, every day, we would get these video messages from Kevin that he had pre-recorded, Kevin Turner. And I thought every step, maybe the money that we raised would bring awareness to the disease, insidious disease of ALS. And maybe somebody will come down off the mountain of ALS one day. So you just keep moving.
That's what I think you kind of do regarding anything. Keep moving.
Yeah.
You were saying that you said my content was all about keep going, persevere.
Keep moving.
Only because, any door will open if you knock long enough, right or wrong.
Yes.
And matter of fact, one time when I was on a show called Knots Landing, you remember Knots Landing? So it was when Alec Baldwin played a character named Joshua, and I had a little speaking role. So we were filming, and they took a break. So Alec and I went down the road to this little restaurant, And I asked him, how do I, do it? And he basically told me a story that said, when you get in line at the grocery store with like milk and your line's kind of stalled and you see this one moving, and so you jump over to this one, and then this one kind of stalls, and then the one you were in starts going. He said, dude, just stay in the line and just stay in that line, and one day you'll get up there and pay for your milk. Yeah. And I'm like, so basically, don't give up.
Don't give up.
He said, just, bam, stay there. So I've always been that way, really.
I think some of the major ills of the world, the people flipping people off in traffic, road rage incidents, yelling at somebody at the grocery store, being mean to somebody, a waiter, I think some of the great and also simplest ills in the world are because people are so freaking miserable with themselves because they've given up. They've given up on their dreams. They've given up on their hopes. They've given up on their marriages. They've given up on self-love. They've given up on whatever it may be. And they're so freaking miserable, ridiculously miserable, that it seeps out of their pores. Yeah. I just wonder what would happen if there were 1,000 more of you or 1,000 more of me getting in people's heads telling them not to give up.
Well, if there was even 50 more of me, they'd all be working here and I'd be a billionaire. However, I hear what you're saying. So changing the narrative was because you witnessed a lot of this nonsense going on and decided you want to change the narrative.
Absolutely. I knew that this is how it started. I knew there were fantastic guys playing sports and coaching sports, and I knew that the yahoos were stealing the headlines. I knew that we were...
What kind of yahoos?
Yahoos in the sense of guys getting in trouble. And even that, I went deeper in that later on and started to ask where this is it's going to blow some people's minds. Like, if a young man hit his girlfriend or pushed his girlfriend, where most people, he was a social pariah and a lot of times got kicked off the team, or he was, I would be the person, and coaches would call me privately, where I'd ask, what did you see growing up? Why did you hit? See, let's get to the root of why you hit and why that was your first, because I bet a lot of these young men that were perpetrators. I'm not saying you don't have to deal with your action, the consequences of your actions, but I want to know why you put your hands on her in the first place. Did you see that in your house? Was that normal growing up? And if so, let's get to the bottom of it and get you some therapy, get you some help so that you don't do that again. So instead of just kicking you off the team, excluding you from, and I'm not saying that you obviously shouldn't be kicked off a team, but I want to know why you hit in the first place, which is, to me, I think, a little bit different than some other people. Other people just want to say, you hit, bye, gone, deal with the consequences of your action. And so, but I knew that there were wonderful guys that were doing service projects, that were doing wonderful things, that were out there in their communities, that were changing the world, that were being big brothers, that were doing these things. And when people read headlines like I did that summer, Brad, if you read ESPN, Fox, CBS, any of it was negative, all the headlines. And I thought, my God, this sport that I love to cover, it is like the blackest summer, the darkest summer. So I created this really simple curriculum that started as, who are you away from the football field? What if you never were a football player? What makes your heart beat faster? You were not born to play football. What do you think you were born for? Then it spread into interpersonal dating, domestic violence, because I've been the victim of that. It spread into mental health. All of these things that we now cover in 3 years, 35 stops, 35 schools, 50 stops, and now starting to do work with the Pro Football Hall of Fame and potentially the NFL. How about that?
Well, a lot of the narrative that you're changing or attempting to change, that's going to be a big task. You're going to need
it's a huge task.
Yeah, and you're going to need a lot of help from people. What should people do to help changing the narrative?
There's a ton of things you can do. I mean, one of the things that I found and compelled to do was to take it into high schools. I get calls every day where people say, "Come here, come there." I can't be everywhere. I can't be.
Can now.
I can now. So that's why I created my on-demand program, because I said, if I have this on-demand program, I can get to you before you get to college and perpetrate that crime or have the mental health issue. Do you know how many young men, you want to get real?
Yeah, I like it.
Do you have any young men that I've held in my arms over the past 3 years that have said to me, Miss Rachel, I was going to kill myself on my birthday? Or, Miss Rachel, I've never told anybody this. Or I had one at one school Wait till everybody left. And he sat next to me and he started to cry, just weep. And then I was weeping. And he said, my coach thinks I'm a failure. My coach thinks I'm a troublemaker. I'm about to get kicked off the football team. I wear my backpack into meetings. I'm the first in, the first out, last in, first out. And he said, what they don't know was that my mom was sexually assaulted at the housing complex and there were people in earshot and no one helped her. And I'm just so damn angry. And so we were able to get him therapy and able to talk to his coach. And his coach called me, Brad, weeks later and said, if not for you, we would have kicked him off the team. Not ever knowing what he was walking through. So
that's powerful. It's
very powerful. So because of, there's 100 other stories, thousands of other stories like that. Seriously. I mean, I'm talking about guys forgiving deadbeat dads, young women being filmed without their knowledge and it being spread all over campus and finding their way back to loving themselves again when their body has been spread all over campus without their knowledge. I mean, eating disorders, all of these things. And you said something earlier that was really profound to me. You talked about a mask that we wear. And I think if we would all take off the mask and get real with each other, and it's this hashtag destroy perfect, if we'd all get real with each other about what we are suffering from, what ails us, man, when you get real with other people and you talk about your own struggles, it invites people to share their struggles in a way that is comfortable to them. For me, I'm a public figure, so I share mine on social media, but it's still very scary to do that.
Sure it is. Especially, like, I forget who was saying the other day. I mean, I forget one of these gurus or, one of these, they're just called gurus. I forget who it was, but someone said their whole platform is they were sexually abused as a boy, like a man did something with them. Mm-hmm. And it's like that would take nerve to come out like that. And there's women probably in the same position. Like, if a woman came out and said, this guy raped me, now you got to, first of all, who do you believe? Because there are women that lie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now it's like, now you're like, oh my God, did it really happen? And then it's like, well, why would you question it? And it's like, why wouldn't you question it? And I would question it whether it was a male or female.
Amen. Yeah.
But this guy, is standing on that platform. And it's like someone was mentioning to me, like, dude, I'd never say that. And personally, like, I don't know if I'd say that, but that takes bravery. But more importantly, more people need to do that, because there's people out there that are holding these things in and not really being able to cope. And next thing you know, they're swinging from a rope, and it's all because someone didn't just come out and say the truth or try to help. So that's one thing you're doing that's brave. You're out there trying to evoke this. That's what changing the narrative's about.
Listen, I'm inviting. I say to people, and we have only just begun with the virtual training with Lightspeed in terms of high school king. Then we have high school queen coming. Then we have grade school for.
You have high school king right now?
Yes.
And what are you teaching them to be?
A gentleman, a king. I'm teaching them to be accountable. Self-love. I'm teaching them about dating. I'm teaching them about inclusion. I'm teaching them about being kind. I'm teaching them about what is attractive. I'm teaching them about taking care of people, respecting.
How old is that? Is that for?
It's all any
Can
young
a sixth
man.
grader use it?
I'm going to do something for grade school. The next one. This is particularly for a high school boy.
High school student.
High school boy, not just an athlete. It was born an athlete.
Have you thought about giving a little word or two to the parents and the faculty?
It's coming up. It's changing the narrative for parents. Because guess what? Big bullies raise little bullies. Big broken people raise little broken people.
Well, not only that, but like if you're doing a wonderful job virtually or in person is irrelevant, because, and when she was describing it, did you hear her? She said, I can get to them, which is good, because most people that get a virtual training system with us, they'll run out there and act like it's a thing. And I'm like, don't talk about it like it's a thing. It's just you.
It's me.
Yeah. So how would you like to have Rachel work with the students for the entire year? Well, how's that possible? Through a virtual technology, she can basically pop up and walk these students through the necessary things with the repetition. She can track and measure it. But you can also talk with the teachers, because where I was going with that is people, you could be doing great work with the student and then the teacher screws it up or the coach screws it up. And then you could have the teacher and the coach and the student on par, and then they get home and the parent screws it up. So I would think that your program would be even more effective if the student, the teacher, and the parent go through changing the narrative.
You are 1,000% right, and it's why we have messages for the administrator, teacher,
Already
parent,
you
whoever.
do?
Oh yeah,
Dang, Tony, you coached her well.
he did. He's been with me. You know how many times I've wanted to quit in developing this program. I'm also, and I'm very proud of this. Okay, I'm proud of the things that have taken me longer than quote unquote maybe set back. That was actually a set up. I say that all the time. I took 8 months to create my program. Sometimes working 15, 17 hours a day. I edited every piece of it myself. I went through 6 cameras, 4 microphones, 3 backdrops. Every single time I wanted to quit and pull my hair out. I didn't quit because I would send Tony articles throughout the 8 months of somebody who jumped off of a parking garage or laid down, Tony was telling me, in front of a train because they were bullied, or victims or suicides or whatever it was. And I said, this is what we're going to end. This is what we're doing. We are going to save lives with this program. And it would give me the gumption at 12 o'clock at night to keep filming, to keep editing, to keep going.
Damn, my bomb button's broke now, but that's okay.
To keep going.
Yeah,
Seriously.
well, I'm glad you are, because let me tell you something. Can you imagine if there was 1,000 more people like you out there? And there are, and hopefully they're listening to this. And if you're listening to this and you're not like that, maybe it's time to become like that.
I don't want people to have a job. Too many people have a job and they're dying with their job. I'm like, what are you doing with your life? Man, what are you leaving? What kind of legacy are you leaving? I'm a sportscaster and a Heisman voter, and that's fantastic. Now I host the college football playoff, but when I am dead and gone, I will be remembered by changing the narrative.
Yeah, didn't I see something about like impact? I know I saw something. What was it?
I teach you to have an impact. What is your impact? Yeah. What is your legacy? Do you know too many? I speak to women too. When I speak to women, very quickly, I speak to women and I talk about straightening your crown, loving yourself, respecting yourself. When you love and respect yourself, you naturally have boundaries and ways in which you'll let people treat you and not treat you. It's about self-love, about not... There's enough pie for all of us women. We don't have to take somebody else's pie. We don't have to stab somebody else in the back. We can lift another woman up. For men, we talk about, and the same very similar things to women, but we talk about, you were not born to play sports. So many of these young men are told that they are born, that their purpose and their worth lies in how fast they can run, how hard they can hit, how tight they can throw a spiral. And when ball is done with them, they have no self-worth, no identity. They have no idea who they are, and they are completely and utterly lost.
If I told you how fast I ran a 40, you wouldn't believe me. Yeah, but hey, so see, I thought I was kind of ignored as a kid. Mm-hmm. My dad didn't come to any of my sporting events, so I just kind of quit football. I quit basketball. I quit wrestling. I went out for wrestling, and the dude had his armpit in my face for a good 30 seconds, and I'm like, I don't like this.
This is not for me.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. Mm-mm. Then I went out for basketball, grabbed the ball away from the other team, ran down, shot a basket, thought I was going to get a big cheer, and it was the wrong basket.
Oh.
And the whole school was watching.
Oh no!
So didn't do that. So football was the only thing I was really good at, and I was really fast. So but again, when I quit, the coach didn't say anything. My dad didn't say anything. It's like I had no clue I was talented at all. So in that case, you're saying almost the opposite. Like there's people out there, and you know why? Do you think that is? Maybe it's they're trying to say to that kid, "This is your only ticket." But that's the wrong message.
Such a wrong message.
There's a million tickets. You got to create something that makes you happy.
Absolutely. Do you know how many young men I've had stand in front of me? This one particular young man at this humongous college stands up to me, and what the craziest thing happens, Brad, after I speak, and I would have quit a long time ago if this didn't happen. On their off nights, a lot of times they wait 30 and 40 deep to talk to me, and I'm like, who am I? I'm like, what? And I think it's because I don't have kids. I would like kids, one day, but I think it's almost, I have a really maternal side, and I don't, other than that, I don't know, but I'm grateful. But this young man stands in front of me and he has tears right on the edge of his eyes. And he's like trying to not cry and he's, blinking them back. And all of a sudden they come down his face and he said, Miss Rachel, thank you for reminding me that I have worth outside of football. Where I come from, I've only been told I'm good for my athletic gifts. What a damn shame.
Do you ever like tear up and
I
say,
cry my
"Get on
eyeballs
over
out.
here and give me a hug"?
Are you kidding me? We cry, we hug. And the funny thing is, so this is funny and awesome. Right before I started changing the narrative, I was taking adoption classes as a single person. And I was going to adopt a set of sisters, siblings, an older set that nobody wanted. See, I want the older dog. I want the older siblings. Like, maybe because we're underdogs, maybe because of what we've been through in our past. Like, I have a heart for things and people that other people have tossed aside for whatever reason. And so I was in the process of doing that. And then I realized there's no way that I can adopt because I'm on the road, all the time. And then somebody put it to me and it was like so succinct. I'm going to try not to cry, but they were like, you have adopted, Rachel. Like, you have thousands of young men and young women across the country that love you, that I keep up with. And there's a reason. I put up my Twitter address. They follow me. I follow them back. It gives us a safe place to DM. And I can't tell you by the hundreds and thousands that message me afterwards and tell me stories of, I forgave my dad who wanted me to be aborted, or I forgave my deadbeat dad, or I have reconciled with, I've got a baby coming in the world and I'm not a king and I want to be a king. Thank you. You made me a better father. You made me a better husband. You made me, just crazy, beautiful stories of life change.
So, folks, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, how can I support this cause? Because this is a cause anyone would support that has a brain in their head. How would they like, what would you have people listening do? Reach out to you on DM?
Yeah.
Start hashtagging changing the narrative?
Yes, a lot of different ways. First thing they can do to get excited about the cause and to go right to the root of it is iamchangingthenarrative.org. So it's just the letter like I am changingthenarrative.org. There's videos there. You can send me a message. There's a link to the on-demand that you can purchase if you're a principal, if you know a principal, a teacher, a coach, whatever it is.
You're a parent.
A parent. That's, huge. Anybody that we can get this message out there. We have ambassadors that are helping us get this message out there. Sponsors. Again, for me, it's faith, but just recently, earlier this year, I signed with a great sports agency called Legends Access, who we're now getting into the sponsorship phase. And so corporations want to hold hands and say, we want to help you spread this message. Like you said, why wouldn't they? But we need people of all walks of life to come and help us spread this message. Dr. David Lee. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was nice.
And what's also cool? This is another little 6 degrees of separation. Do you know who got me my first speaking gig with Changing the Narrative?
Who?
Dr. Kevin Elko.
Oh, yeah? Small world, isn't it?
I never, ever, I don't think this cavalcade of amazingness would have ever happened. I am going to cry now. When I created this curriculum, I thought it was just for high school. And granted, it is now back in high school, all the way around. But I thought, I never even put two and two together being a college football reporter that I was going to take it into colleges. And I was on vacation with my family. I'll never forget where I was. We were in Jackson Hole. It's a beautiful cabin by the lake that you can no longer rent at the foot of the Tetons. And Kevin Elko calls and says, Jimbo Fisher wants to make you, he was a head coach at FSU at the time. He wants to make you the first female sportscaster to ever address his football team. Are you ready? And I was like, what? Just cry. We all, my parents, we held hands and we jumped up and down like little kids. And that was the first stop. And then 6 months later, I addressed Clemson 14 days before they dismantled Ohio State en route to the national championship. And they're running off the field. And they have these really cheap bracelets, the first ones I had. And they're like, we changed the narrative. We did it, Miss Rachel. We did it. The coaches are picking me up. Deshaun Watson now with the Texans, a king. And it started from there, and it just snowballed. But it never would have been without Kevin Elko.
Oh, Kevin's a good dude, huh?
Any good? So what? Now what?
Yeah. It's the language. It's the language.
And you just wake up to it every day, and you affirm yourself.
So what is a king?
Yeah.
Obviously, a good dude, but what are some traits of the kings we're trying to create?
Yeah, a king is somebody first and foremost, doesn't mean you can't have dreams and hopes, but it means somebody who thinks about other people first, who is a protector, who's a respecter, who is somebody who lifts people up, who edifies people. A king is somebody who's accountable. A king is somebody, if he says, hey, we went on a date, I'm going to call you, he actually calls. I tell these guys, we laugh and say, I said, why is this that if you never want to see her again, you're leaving her and you go, I'll call you. I'm like, you know, and she knows that you're never going to call her. I'm like, stop that.
What should they do?
I had a really nice time with you. I hope you have a nice life. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Like, but rip the damn Band-Aid off. Don't say, I'll call you. You know what I tell these guys? Half of this crap that goes on is wasted emotion because she thinks you like her, and all you ever wanted to do was Netflix and chill, which means, have relations to somebody older who's listening to this, but on college campuses.
Is that what Netflix and chill means?
Yes, it means knock the boots. That's what it means, okay? So your guys are laughing out there. It's the truth. If you only want to Netflix and chill, you need to be honest with her and tell her, I'm not looking for anything. Don't tell her, I love you, baby. I want to be with you. I want to see you again. Once you've just had relations with her, then she wants you. She has a unfair, expectation or realistic because you've lied to her. You haven't been honest. Then she goes and keys your car or slashes your tires. I'm not at all saying that's okay. But if you had just been honest, a king is honest when a king does extraordinary things. That's the other thing. A king calls a deadbeat dad and goes, I forgive you. A king calls, I had a guy reach out to me recently and said, I was so inspired by your talk that I reached out to my girlfriend 3 years ago that I'd cheated on. I'm with somebody else. She's with somebody else. And I told her, I'm sorry. I was not a king when I was dating you and I cheated on you. Please forgive me. I recently heard this woman talk, blah, blah, blah. He sent me the screenshot. The girl writes back and goes, thank you for saying that. I have forgiven you a long time ago, but thank you for doing that. That made me feel so valuable and so worthy. I hope you have a wonderful life. I hope you're happy. I'm happy. Blah, blah. And this whole weight lifted off of him. So it's just being, and you know what? It's being the kind of dude that can look in the mirror, and it goes back to what we talked about. You love yourself because you're doing the right things. And it doesn't mean you always do the right things. It means you fix it when you don't do the right things.
Mm-hmm. What's a queen?
Oh, man. I can speak to this big time because I wasn't always a queen. I mean, a queen starts with wearing an invisible crown, and meaning by that, it means I know myself and I know there is one of me, and that the same creator, whatever it is you believe, that created the Andes and Kilimanjaro and all the wonders of the world, looked at the world and goes, there needs to be a Rachel Baribeau. Rachel Joy Baribeau, there needs to be one of those. And knowing that I am glorious and fantastic and amazing, and there's nothing wrong. It's not ego, it's self-love. And knowing that I am just unreal amazing, right? Because I'm unique. So when you have that self-love, you go, okay, I'm not going to let dude to come over and Netflix and chill with me and never take me on a date and tell me lies and make me feel like less than. I'm not going to do that, or whatever it is your persuasion.
Especially when you can Netflix and chill by yourself.
So it's self-love. It begins with self-love. And the things that boil over with both a king and a queen are really thinking about other people, service, love, legacy, having a purpose beyond whatever it is your quote unquote talent is, using your talent to help others.
But what about women who cheat?
Women who cheat have holes.
But they got a call. How do they repair?
The same by looking in the mirror and going, I got some deficiency. Something's going on. Listen to me, Brad. Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Hear me on that. Hurt people hurt people. So if you're cheating, you are hurting someone. You're doing wrong. You're being devious. You're not. You got something in you, baby girl, that you need to step away and go fix and go heal. With therapy, with self-love, with asking for forgiveness, whatever. But cheating is not something that healthy people do, and not something that people that truly love themselves do. Because if you're a queen, you would not ever hurt your partner like that. You would say to your partner, dude, it ain't working out.
Why are you pointing at Tony?
Well, I'm just using him as an example. It's not working out.
Coincidentally, you're both single.
Just call me a queen.
No, that's Celentano.
You're awesome.
Listen, folks, if you guys are listening to this, I'm gonna start thinking about like how I can get involved with you a little bit, because number one, I love helping kids because I think that's where you get the biggest impact. You know, by the time they're all ready, not that adults can't be helped, and yes, I like helping adults too, but when people, I got a DUI once, or 5 times, but that's beside the point. I got a DUI once, and I had to go into a juvenile facility and organize this microfilm that had cases, child cases on it. And it was my community service. I had to do community service. So they tell me, you know, open up the microfiche is what they call it, microfilm. And, you know, just put it on this little thing and start reading a little bit and make sure it's, you know, over here and make sure it's right. And
Yeah.
so I'm pulling these things up and I'm reading what parents are doing to their own kids, step parents are doing to their own kids, weird Uncle Chucks are doing to the kids. I mean,
Foster
it's like
parents.
all kinds of
Terrible.
parents and teachers, and like, you know, I could not believe that this was happening. I mean, from abuse to sexual abuse to mental abuse to the whole bit. And these were little kids.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what kind of a jerk off could hurt a little 6-year-old girl or boy, or like, what do you do? There's weird people in this world. And that's, I mean, literally I was leaving these community services like in tears, not literal, but well, actually literal.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sleep at night. And I was trying to tell everybody, like, do you realize what's going on? And like, how can we fix this? And then, you know, that faded because nobody just kept it in front of my face. But I want to go back and help kids. I always say, and I do currently, but like I always say, the reason I want to be a billionaire is so I can go frickin' make a bigger difference for people, mainly kids. So I want to help just for that. But anyone listening, folks, if y'all don't love Rachel just by listening, then shit, I don't know. You should unsubscribe. If you don't love her, then you need her. Yeah. Am I lying?
No.
Like if you guys are thinking, I don't love this girl, well, then you need her. You need what she's saying, or at least you need some therapy, man. Where would they go, by the way? If someone's out there listening and they're in their tears, right? They're in their vehicles tearing up because they're feeling this way. Who do they call? Psychologist, psychiatrist, what?
You know what's kind of cool that you asked that? One of the things that we put in my system.
And when she says system, folks, it's an interactive virtual training technology where basically you can have Rachel work with your child. So that's another thing. If, you know, there's a lot of parents out there that aren't very good at parenting, and they're going to get worse because, you know, young parents that are having kids, you don't know how to parent. And then if maybe your parents are gone, or maybe they weren't good parents anyway.
And you don't know.
Yeah. So who do you go get? You know, how do you get the Elkos and the Rachels and the people to help you raise your child? Well, you're probably not going to get them in person. So the next best thing is an interactive virtual training system.
Yep.
So continue, though, because I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good. And I'm glad you explained that. So what we did is we put 2 different links. One is a Lifeline link. So if they're watching this stuff, we have a very
in the system.
So
and
you
don't
can
say
reach
watching. They go through it.
that when they go through it, if they have feelings of suicide, depression, anxiety, resentment, anger, whatever it may be, they can immediately click this link and get somebody right then if they're having those feelings. There's also another link to find a therapist in your area to make an appointment ASAP. And we felt that to be, and there's also a discussion board. So if you want to discuss with your peers what's going on, how you're feeling, hey dude, hey Frankie, did you feel the same way when you did chapter 4 that I did? We felt that sense of community was huge. Because for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I've done therapy on and off for a while, but the past year, I realized I was out preaching for these young people to ask for help, and I wasn't getting therapy myself. And I'm like, man, you got to get therapy, Rachel. And it's the best hour of my week literally, the best hour of my week.
Is it covered by insurance? What if people don't have any money?
You know, you can find a therapist that'll work for you. You can find therapists through churches, through their people that are, there are organizations that will pay for your therapy. That'll be like $20 a therapy. You can get it, you know, subsidized down. There's not a reason not to get mental health these days. You can find places that will help you. There's resources out there. Just like if you have cancer and you don't have the money for treatment, there are organizations out there that exist to help you get cancer treatment.
That's good. I didn't know you had all them buttons in that system.
Oh, we absolutely do. I mean, and then we have a workbook, a very thick workbook that you print out and you action steps for every chapter.
You know, you also could get huge corporate sponsorship.
That's what we're looking for right
with
now.
This. Yeah, well, I mean, anybody listening to this that has a company that wants to donate, and the way you would donate is, or sponsor is, let's say you want to help 1,000 kids in your school district or 500 kids.
Yes.
Get a hold of Rachel and say, listen, I'll pay for 100 kids. I'll pay for 10 kids. Because you're aware, and people reach out to you for all the troubled kids and the kids that are, sulking and being bullied or showing up at the office. Bullying is a whole nother matter.
Yeah.
And how many situations are kids facing nowadays in high school?
It's not like, when we were in high school, it's on the phone now, so it's never ending. You can't end it. It's on social media. These kids can't get away from it. Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, all of it, Instagram. They cannot get away from it. Yeah. They can't get away from it. They cannot get away from it.
Yeah. So ultimately, folks, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, man, I love this girl, well, then reach out to her. See if you want to sponsor kids. If you are someone who knows someone, also reach out. We'll donate. Yeah. I mean, I'll help.
Thank you.
So again, I mean, if someone reaches out to you and they're like an emergency, I'll give you the money for the password. And I'm sure you're willing to give a bunch away as well. That's the problem with, it costs money. So like people are like, well, if you're so damn worried, how come you don't give it to the whole world? Well, it costs money to deliver these things and travel these places.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You still sportscast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
Sirius XM college football playoff.
Yeah. So like every single year, who's what and what's what.
Yeah.
You ever hear of a kid named Max Redfield?
Tell me about him.
Well, he was playing for, I forget now, but he was playing for, I think maybe UCLA, real talented.
Yeah. Was he a quarterback?
I don't know, but he was hanging out with his buddies who got pulled over, and they had weed and a gun in the car.
Okay.
So like he just got obliterated. Like they eviscerated him. Is that the right word? Eviscerated.
Eviscerated, I think. Yeah.
I
use big words sometimes, and they don't match.
Screwed up his whole thing, and man, I'm telling you right now, someone had it out for him. Yeah, Notre Dame.
Okay.
Notre Dame. Like, dude, he was promising. He still is, actually. Now he's playing for, I forget who he's playing for now, but dude, like my friend Glenn, who was basically doing what you do for kids, for him, and he's a college kid, but good dude, real good dude, man. I'm glad there's people like you guys out there helping these people. And high school is even better because they haven't fully matured yet. They haven't fully understood anything. Peer pressure is worse in high school than it is in college. Wouldn't you agree?
Big time. And
girls, you're getting pressured into having sex, getting pressured into freaking sending nudies, and
do you want to go one further? What's screwing our kids up? If you go to your phone and go to Google and type in the word porn, just type in the word porn. Hardcore porn comes up on your phone. I tested it out, like hardcore porn right there in front of you. And so our young men...
Well, if it's going to be porn, it should be hardcore, right?
Young men, you're making me laugh. Young men are watching this, and so it's part of this porn culture. They're not getting it. A lot aren't getting the birds and the bees talk. Right, but the access to it is right there in your face, and they're getting it, and so they're going, okay, this is the way I should go about my business with the little girl down the street who's 14, 15, and parents are freaking out of daughters right now. And then the little girls think that they should perform like that because that's what they saw and that's what they heard. And literally, I mean, it is like the underbelly and the depth of what's going on with our youth right now because it's so accessible. And if you don't teach them any different, they're going to social media for their selfies and their lips and their sex and their little sexy selfies. If you don't teach them any different, that's what they think is acceptable and what they should do. And then they would go down the road like I did for 10 years of my life or longer and think that my sexuality was in my body. And my worth was in my body.
Severely regret.
So
again, why would you want to allow them to go learn the hard way? See, I learned the hard way on a lot of things.
And there's things you don't have to learn the hard way. See,
you don't have to learn anything the hard way, do you?
No, I mean, I think some life lessons you have to get. You have to fall down. You have to learn some lessons. But I coach young women as well, young female sportscasters, and I tell the parents there are a lot of lessons that they don't have to learn the way that I had to learn. So yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, if anybody understands the impact, a lack of parenting has, your system's needed like it's going out of style.
Yeah.
Man, Rachel, I commend you. This will probably be the longest episode in the history of Dropping Bombs.
It's
worth talking.
I'm like super honored by that. Is that okay? Can I like go home with my chest puffed out a little bit on that? Okay, good.
Absolutely.
Good.
But it's worth talking about because, again, normally we're just in here shooting the shit, cracking jokes, hey, it's funny. But this is not funny stuff. And not only that, it's like in another 20 years, those 15-year-olds will be running shit. Do you guys want a bunch of whacked out, misled, depressed, and that's another thing, like
depressed?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is like, then they put them on medication, and that medication's not the answer.
Nope.
There's a whole, normally I'm positive. Now I just want to freaking like go out and change the world.
Come with me.
You inspire people.
Thank
Rachel.
you.
See, you're inspiring.
Thank you.
You're making me want to go like change the world.
Yay.
But I just get like almost depressed. That's not the word. I almost get like it's hopeless. I feel hopeless. Like, when it comes to the government and it comes to the big pharma and it comes to freaking teenage bullying and suicide. And it's like, you want to help, but it's just such a big challenge. So people just don't do anything. But that's the wrong thing.
That's the wrong. Come with me on one of my talks. We'll figure it out. Come with me. Come meet me.
I don't want to cry in public.
Listen. You can.
I'm like insecure still. I want to be that guy. I want to be that guy that can hug people. And
you
cry.
can come with me to one of my talks, and once you come to one of these talks, you will see. You won't think it's hopeless. You'll see these young men. You'll see these young women, and the effect that it has on them.
So they're yearning for I call it parenting.
They're yearning for acceptance and love and direction and parenting and somebody to say, I care about you beyond what you can do on a field or what you can do in the band or what your talent is, whatever it may be. Come with me, man. You invited me here. Come spend a day with me when I'm out on the road doing some of this work, and I guarantee you'll be inspired.
Fair enough. I can't turn that down. I cannot do so. That would be. I can't.
Okay.
I will take you up on that.
Okay.
Preferably somewhere around Nashville area.
Yeah.
But I'll go anywhere really. I like Nashville.
Nashville's a great town.
So I would keep you here all day. But listen, if you're ever back in Vegas, you're more than welcome to come back on the show any old time. You're going to be definitely a fan favorite for the Bomb Squad.
Okay.
One last time before we let you go, where do you want people to go to just follow you, hang out with you?
Yeah.
Instagram?
So,
where's your main spot?
Yeah, so Instagram and Twitter, love. Listen, I think I'll leave everybody with this. I think some people forget that social media is called social media for a reason. Some people get on social media and they're inaccessible. They don't talk to you. They don't comment back. They don't say anything back. I like the social aspect of social media. So I have friends and fans. I love it. Instagram, Twitter, at Rachel Baribeau. But the website to get everything you need is I'mChangingTheNarrative.org.
Yeah, and follow her on Instagram or Twitter. Obviously, Rachel, Baribeau.
Yes.
And when her book comes out, support it.
Yes, thank you.
Rachel, you're the best. Thanks for coming. You're awesome. And folks, go out and share this because even if you don't have kids or it's not something that you directly affects you, 10 people you share it with might be
amen to that.
The ones that make.
And we're saving lives. No doubt about that. So what if the one person you share it with, their child hears it, the parent hears it, it gets in their hands, and when they face a bullying or when they face a suicidal thoughts or when they face a depression, they're able to go talk to somebody. They're able to go, they learn what the joy it feels to serve. Man, I've had joy in my life. This is the real last thing I'm going to leave you with. I've had joy in my life. I've never had joy the way that I have it. It's my middle name, is when I go and pour myself out in my on-demand program, in speaking. That's the real kind of joy in serving, and I want to teach people that.
Well, I'd like to commend you on your hat, too. That's a beautiful hat.
Thank you.
Beautiful color.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got style. Folks, go out and share this out. And as always, take care. Till next time. Peace.